Hello dear students, how are you all? I hope you all are fine, yes? Did you finish your homework, all of you? Did you finish your homework, all of you? In this chapter, we are going to discuss about computer organization. Okay? After we should see chapter 2 remaining topic. What is computer organization? What is computer organization? Deals with the hardware components of your computer system. In this chapter 1 itself, we have studied that components of computer. First lesson, first chapter we already studied, and components of computer. We have two types of components. One is hardware and software. The organization deals with the hardware. It includes the input and output devices, this general processing unit, and storage devices. This storage includes the primary and secondary memory. So, input devices CPU, storage port, இதெல்லாம் வந்து ஹார்ட்வேர் தான். ஸோ இதையெல்லாம் இம்ப்ளிமெண்ட் பண்ண வைக்கிறது கம்ப்யூட்டர் ஆர்கனைசேஷன். It consists with these components of computer. Hardware operate it also deals with they are interconnected with to implement an architecture specification. So, computer organization deals with only computer hardware. All they are interconnect with implement and also main the implement interconnection between hardware make the hardware perform particular task. Okay, hardware perform a particular task. So எல்லா ஹார்ட்வேரும் ஆப்ரேட் பண்ண வச்சு இம்ப்ளிமெண்ட் பண்ண வைக்கிறது இதான் கம்ப்யூட்டர் ஆர்கனைசேஷன். இதெல்லாம் இம்ப்ளிமெண்ட் பண்ண வைக்கிறதா என்னது கம்ப்யூட்டர் ஆர்கனைசேஷன். Computer organization and architecture, the terms computer organization look similar. The term computer architecture, two words organization and architecture ரெண்டுமே ஒரே மாதிரியா தான் இருக்கும். There is a difference between. Let's see. What is architecture? Computer architecture deals with engineering considerations involved in designing a computer. So, architecture which deal with designing the computer system, that is design, the function, behavior, requirement of the various part of the computer system, like application, all the apps like program, இதையெல்லாம் டிசைன் பண்ணுறதுக்கு தான் ஆர்கிடெக்சர் டிசைன். வாட் கம்ப்யூட்டர் என்னெல்லாம் பண்ணும் ஃபுல்லாக டிசைன் பண்ணுறது. கம்ப்யூட்டர் ஆர்கிடெக்சர் it is the high-end programming system. On the other end of computer organization deals with hardware that transparent to the programmer. So computer organization deals with hardware part. So it deals with what is computer, that is the computer hardware. How do? Okay, how do? So architecture, what do? Organization perform how do இதெல்லாம் அதோட ஒர்க்கை எப்படியெல்லாம் பண்ணும். For the specification given in the architecture instruction applicationல எப்படி கிரியேட் ஆகுது, based on it make hardware to perform. Okay, make hardware to perform. Okay, architecture, that is what computer do. organization this how to do it. Okay, did you understand? Take page number 51. Computer organization deals with the hardware components of computer system. It includes input-output devices, the central processing unit, storage devices, and primary memory. It is concerned with how the various components of computer hardware operate. It also deals with how they are interconnected to implement an architectural specification. The term computer organization looks similar to the term computer architecture. But computer architecture deals with the engineering considerations involved in designing a computer. On the other hand, computer organization deals with the hardware components that are transparent to the programmer. The next topic is basic of microprocessor. Basics of microprocessor. Next topic is basics of microprocessor. The CPU is the major component of a computer which is perform all the tasks. So we know what we know about the CPU. Okay, we know about the CPU. What is the CPU? Central processing unit. It's the brain of the computer. It's the brain of the computer. Why it is called as brain of the computer? Because it is perform all the types of calculations and it stores the data. Also without CPU there is no computer system at all. Also like human being, எல்லாமே human being ஓட மைண்ட்ல ஸ்டோர் பண்ண முடியாது. Entire body is controlled by our brains. Controlled by our brain. So similarly, entire system, all the operations, everything is controlled by the CPU. This realized by the microprocessor, which is the integrated circuit. So we are studied that microprocessor in the third generations of computer. So thousands of transistors replaced by the single integrated circuit that is made up of perform silicon chip, which hosts large of instruction which is used to perform all the types of calculations and everything. So the answer is, what is the microprocessor? Microprocessor, all this term as CPU microprocessor, first introduced in 1917. The first general purpose microprocessor was 4004. Developed by Intel Inc. Okay, first the basic of microprocessor. CPU is the major component of the computer which perform all the tasks. So we know what? We know about the CPU. What is CPU? Central processing unit. The brain of the computer. Why it is called as brain of the computer? Because it is perform all the types of calculation. It store the data. Also without CPU there is no computer system. Also like human beings எல்லாமே நம்ம ஸ்டோர் பண்ணி வைக்க முடியாது. Human being, yes or no? Entire body controlled by our brain. Entire body is controlled by our brain. is similarly entire system, all the operation, everything is controlled by the CPU. This realized by the microprocessor, which is the integrated circuit. So we are studied that microprocessor in the third generations of computer. So thousands of transistors replaced by the single integrated circuit that is made up of perform silicon chip, which is holds large number of instructions, which is used to perform all the types of calculations and everything. So the answer is, what is the microprocessor? Microprocessor, all this time as CPU. Microprocessor first introduced in this year 1970. The first general purpose microprocessor was developed by Intel Inc. Okay. Basics of microprocessor. Microprocessor programmable multi-purpose silicon chip. It is a chip. It proved input programmable inside. Microprocessor, it cannot do anything. It traveled by clock. Okay. Whatever actions are doing, everything maintained by the clock pulses, that it accepts input as binary data. After processing input, provides the output data accessed by the instructions in the memory. So in the concept chapter 1 discuss பண்ணிட்டோம். Okay, இந்த chapter concept 1 discuss பண்ணிட்டோம். So computer concept only the binary data. Why data accept binary data? What is the language of binary data? Computer language knows only machine language. It knows only zeros and ones. What type of data is given? The data will be converted into the bit. The data converted into the bit, that is 0 or 1. நமக்கு தெரிஞ்ச கம்ப்யூட்டருக்கு இன்ஸ்ட்ரக்ஷனை கொடுக்கும். நமக்கு தெரிஞ்ச லாங்குவேஜில் கம்ப்யூட்டருக்கு இன்ஸ்ட்ரக்ஷனை கொடுக்கும். கம்ப்யூட்டருக்கு தெரிஞ்ச லாங்குவேஜை அது கன்வெர்ட் பண்ணிக்கும். ஸோ இதை மைக்ரோ ப்ராசஸர் தான் எல்லா டேட்டாவும் ப்ராசஸ் பண்ணும். ஆப்ரேஷன்ஸ் அண்ட் மேனிப்புலேஷன் இது எல்லாம் பண்ணுறது தான் ப்ராசஸ். ஸோ நம்ம ஃப்ரெஷ்ஷாக ஒரு டேட்டாவை கொடுத்தோம்னா அதை input device, through input device only we are giving data to the computer. So இந்த ப்ராசஸை அக்செப்ட் பண்ணி end of the data from the input நம்ம என்ன கொடுக்குறோம் அதை இன்புட்டாக எடுத்து எப்படி ப்ராசஸ் பண்ணுதுன்னா based on the processor என்ன type of instruction மெமரியில் ஸ்டோர் ஆகியிருக்கோ based on that instruction process the data. After that provides the output. Also நம்ம நிறைய எக்ஸாம்பிள் பார்த்துருக்கோம். நம்ம ஒரு ஆப்பிள் ஜூஸ் போடுறோன்னா ஆப்பிள் இஸ் த இன்புட் எப்படி ப்ராசஸ் பண்ணுது? சேம் மெத்தட். இதை ப்ராசஸில் எங்கே நடக்குன்னா மைக்ரோ ப்ராசஸர். Take the in charge from the perform the processor. First look at your page number 51. The microprocessor is a programmable multi-purpose silicon chip. It is derived by a clock pulser. It accepts input as a binary data, and after processing it provides the output data as per the instruction stored in the memory. Okay, look at this diagram. Input microprocessor, output next microprocessor in the memory ku pogudhu. Okay, first you should write the classwork. Did you finish your classwork, all of you? Look at this diagram. Input, microprocessor, output, memory. Input, microprocessor, output, memory. Microprocessor made up of three main units. One is control unit, arithmetic and logical unit. Next one is register or internal memory or register. Okay, first one is arithmetic and logic unit, control unit, register or internal memory. Okay, have you written all of you? Okay, first arithmetic and logic unit. We already know what is arithmetic and logic unit. ALU is nothing but arithmetic and logical unit. ALU is nothing but arithmetic and logical unit. Okay, to perform arithmetical and logical instruction based on computer instruction, we know arithmetic, subtraction, addition, subtraction, multiplication, division. And logical, and or, not, NAND, XNOR. Okay, this all logical gate. Logical instruction based on the computer instruction. Okay, next one is control unit. கண்ட்ரோல்னா நமக்கு ஓவராலாக கண்ட்ரோல்னால் ஒரு ஐடியா இருக்கும். என்னது அதையெல்லாம் கண்ட்ரோல் பண்ணி ஓவராலாக கண்ட்ரோல் பண்ணி வைக்கிறது. லைக் சேம் டு கண்ட்ரோல் த ஓவரால் ஆப்ரேஷன்ஸ் ஆஃப் த கம்ப்யூட்டர் த்ரூ சிக்னல். டு கண்ட்ரோல் த overall operations of the computer through the signals. To control the overall operations of the computer through the signals. Okay, write this. Okay, to control the overall operations of the computer through the signals. Next one is register or internal memory. They are used to hold the instructions and the data for the execution of the processor. They are used to hold the instruction and data for the execution of processor. They are used to hold the instruction and data for the execution of the processor. The microprocessor is able to communicate with the memory units and the input-output devices. The microprocessor is able to communicate with the memory units and the input-output devices. The system bus is bunch of wires, which is the collection of address buses and data buses and control buses that serve as communication channels between the microprocessor and the devices. They are used to hold the instruction and data for the executions of the processor. The microprocessor is able to communicate with the memory units and input-output devices. System bus is a bunch of wires, which is the collection of address bus, data bus and control bus that serve a communication channels between the microprocessor and other devices. Look at this diagram of ALU, register, control unit, memory, RAM and ROM. RAM extension, random access memory. ROM extension, read only memory. You should write this two expansion: random access memory RAM, ROM, read-only memory. Have you written all of you? Next topic is characteristics of microprocessor. Next one is characteristics of microprocessor. Characteristics of microprocessor. A microprocessor perform depends on the following characteristics: clock speed, instruction set, word size. Clock speed, instruction set, word size. Clock speed, instruction set, word size. Okay, let's see one by one. Okay, microprocessor perform depends on the following characteristics: clock speed, instruction set, word size. Clock speed, word size, instruction set. Okay, first now instruction set. A command which is given to computer to perform an operation. Data is called an instruction. Basic set of machine level instruction. You know the machine level instruction zeros are 1. That is microprocessor is designed to execute is called as an instruction set. This instruction set carries out the following types of operation: data transfer, arithmetic operation, logical operation, control flow, and input output. Okay. Instruction set, a command which is given to computer to perform an operation. Data is called an instruction. Basic set of machine level instruction, that is microprocessor, is designed to execute is called as an instruction set. This instruction set carries out the following types of operation: data transfer, arithmetical operation, logical operations, and control flow operation, input output. My clock speed. Every microprocessor has an internal clock. Every microprocessor has an internal clock that regulates the speed at which executes the instruction. The speed at which the microprocessor executes instruction is called the clock speed. Instruction is called the clock speed. Every microprocessor has an internal clock speed which is used to calculate the speed of your microprocessor. How much the instruction received at time, the speed will be calculated. Write the clock microprocessor internal. It is used to measure the speed of. It is used to measure the speed. எவ்வளோ சீக்கிரமாக மைக்ரோப்ராசஸர் எக்ஸிக்யூட் பண்ணுது, எவ்வளோ சீக்கிரமாக அந்த இன்ஸ்ட்ரக்ஷனை ஸ்டோர் பண்ணுது, ரிட்ரீவ் பண்ணுது, எதோட ஸ்பீடாக கால்குலேட் பண்ணுது, அதான் என்னடா கிளாக் ஸ்பீட். ஓகே, every microprocessor has an internal clock that regulates the speed at which it executes instruction. The speed at which the microprocessor execute instruction is called the clock speed. Clock speed, you should mark the line. Clock speed is measured by megahertz or gigahertz. Megahertz or gigahertz. Okay, you should write. That is important 5-mark question. Characteristics of microprocessor. This is the 5-mark question. Okay. Characteristics of microprocessor. Microprocessor perform depends on the following characteristics: clock speed, instruction set, and word size. Clock speed. Every microprocessor has an internal clock that regulates the speed which is execute instruction. The speed at which is microprocessor execute instruction is called the clock speed. clock speed is measured in megahertz or gigahertz. Have you written? உங்களுக்கு என்ன போராக தான் இருக்கும், அட்ஜஸ்ட் பண்ணி படிக்கணும். இது படிக்கக்கூடிய ஏஜ் தானே. நெக்ஸ்ட் ஒன் இஸ் வேர்ட் சைஸ். The number of bits that can be processed by a processor in a single instruction is called its word size. In single instruction is called as word size. Word size determines the amount of RAM. We know RAM expansion, random access memory, that can be accessed by a microprocessor at one time, and the total number of pins on the microprocessor. Total number of input and output pins in turn determine the architecture of the microprocessor. Okay, the number of bits that can be processed by a processor in a single instruction is called word size. Determines the amount of RAM that can be accessed by a microprocessor at one time, and the total number of pins on the microprocessor, total number of input and output pins in turn determines the architecture of the microprocessor. Okay, this is your homework. You should write the homework. What is an instruction? Difference between computer organization from the computer. Then remaining is syllabus. That 5 and 6 is question answer, and 1 to 4 is syllabus.